Hello. Happy Monday, y'all. And welcome to FPP Live, a time I come together or come to pour into you every Monday, 7 p.m. EST, where we connect all things faith, purpose, and profit, only if you want to live as the highest and best version of who God created you to be. So as you come on in, number one, tell me hello. Tell me name and where you're from, whether you're here live or you watch the replay. My live folks, if you have questions as I share, please post them. I'm happy to pour into you while I'm here live. I'm always excited to have this opportunity because what I know for sure is you need all three in your career. Whether you're starting a business, growing revenue in your business, or you're ready to really find the meaning and fulfillment you greatly desire in your career, this intersection of these three is where you got to be. All right. So, with that, I'm continuing a series I started. This is part 4. So, that was 3 weeks ago. The series is When It's Time to Let Go of Plan A. The number of successful women that I meet, and I always say I serve a few good men, but the majority of the folks that I get to talk to and coach are women. I would say 98%. I should probably say 99% because I always have like one or two men in my programs. Anyway, the number of successful women that I meet that tell me they have this desire to pivot. They know that it's time to let go of their plan A, but they're so tied to their plan A, they can't see what's possible. So I'm going to do a quick review of the landscape we've covered over the last few weeks. So, by the way, if you've missed any of these episodes, I'm going to encourage you to go watch past episodes on my YouTube channel, which is nrjnetwork.com. Those of you that know me, you know that the way I teach one episode builds on the next. So you need all four to understand. There's a fifth one that's brewing for next week, but you need all of what I teach in order for you to understand why your plan A was great when you started your career. It was exact plan for many of you that God wanted for you, but that wasn't all God had in store for you. And so you've got to let go of that to get to what's next. So here's our review. Week 1, we talked about, and it was called When It's Time to Let Go of Plan A. And by the way, when you see me look down, I'm looking at my notes, bullets, right? So it's not all scripted. So and before I review, let me read our foundational Bible verse for this series. It's Philippians 3:13 through 14. Now, this week I'm reading the King James Version. I've been reading the New King James Version, but I'm reading the King James Version this week. And it says, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. And so we've been really focused, by the way, on verse 13. Tonight, I'm going to dig into verse 14. So here are the first three parts. Quick review. Part 1 was get your priorities together, as my auntie and my mother and my grandmother would say. Number 1, check your focus because you've got to have purpose over money. Number 2, purpose over position. And then 3, God is holding you responsible. So that was part 1. Part 2, which was called the power in career interruptions. See, God is going to interrupt your plan because God has bigger plans than you have for yourself. So, number 1 is principle over priority because you have your own priorities. And listen, we got to get in alignment with the principles God has for us. Number 2, it may not look like you planned it. Matter of fact, I should have said it's not going to look like you planned it. And then I gave you 6 areas you must let go in order to go after what God has planned for you. And then number 3 is get the clarity you need to make the shift. By the way, I'm going to walk you through some of that clarity tonight. Number 3, week 3, which was last week, it's the foundation that makes the difference. And I dug all the way in that there's 2 things that make the foundation of your career and really anything you do if you're going to do it for God. And that foundation is love. Now I'm talking agape love. So there are 3 steps I walked you through last week, which were your career is about serving other people. It ain't about you. Number 2, being obedient to your calling, to the thing God has called you to do. Remember, I said to the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. So that means that you've got to sacrifice what you thought you wanted, what your plan was, et cetera, et cetera. And then number 3, love is a choice. So again, it's there on the screen. If you've missed any parts, I'm going to encourage you to go watch them because the way I'm teaching, again, each builds on the next and you need all of it. Only if you want to go beyond good enough because you can be successful. You can have the job you always wanted and still be living in good enough. If God is going to do abundantly above all we could ever ask or think, those of you that are here with me week after week, I see more of you joining. So at least say hello. Don't come in this house and not speak. It's my virtual house today. Y'all say hi. Listen, if God is going to do abundantly above all you could ever ask or think, your plan was what you thought. God has way more than that for you. And so you got to stop limiting God's ability to bless you. Mhm. So now in part four, we're talking the money shift. Oh, some of y'all need to shift the way you think and live and do and be around your money, right? Hey, Monica to Indiana, welcome, welcome. And again, y'all, as you're coming in, if you have questions I share, please, 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 please ask away, okay? So here's our foundational Bible verse for this. Again, the money shift. See, when you need to let go of plan A, 9 times out of 10, the reason you're having a hard time letting go of plan A is you need to make a money shift. So Deuteronomy 8:17-18 is our Bible verse for this part. And it says, you may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors, as it is today. See, God wants us to be wealthy. Your purpose is meant to profit. But the question is, do you have the right viewpoint? Do you need to make a shift to get in alignment with the way God sees wealth for you? So listen, y'all know I love me some Tony Evans. So here's what part of what Tony Evans says here, Tony Evans commentary, right? Under this Bible verse, it says, God gives the ability and opportunity necessary for gaining wealth, and He does so with the specific goal of preparing people to fulfill His kingdom purposes. So whether you're in a career or you have a business, I need you to understand you have purpose. You have a calling. Okay. He goes on to say, which include being a blessing to others. God doesn't give us wealth just so that we can lavish it on ourselves. To separate wealth from God, in fact, is a travesty because prosperity is inextricably tied to His kingdom agenda for His people. I'm going to say that one more time because some people think that you can't be wealthy and serve God. That ain't real. Listen, to separate wealth from God, in fact, is a travesty because prosperity is inextricably tied to His kingdom agenda for His people. So, for some of you, the reason plan A is so hard to walk away from is because you need to make a money shift. So, I'm going to dig in and I'll tell you why, right? So, again, you know, our foundational Bible verse is Philippians 3:13-14, but our focus for this part is 14. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling. I press toward the mark. What's the mark? What are you pressing toward? Okay. So here we go. We're going to talk about how you need to shift, how you're looking and being around your money. Number one, you got to reflect on your financial perspective. Okay. Colossians 1:29. Before I read that, let me say this first. Reflect on your financial perspective. Are you looking at it as a hustle? Are you doing the hard work God created you to do? Listen, those of you that have been around me, you know, anytime somebody says something about a side hustle, I cringe because the word hustle in the dictionary has this whole definition that we don't even realize we're saying when we say side hustle. That has pimp and prostitution in the definition. And God is not looking for you to pimp your gift. So those of you that are kind of trying to make quick, fast money, I want to get this promotion because I know it's going to make me a whole bunch of more money. No, that's not why you do what you do. But depending on your bankroll zip code, that's a perspective that might be handed down to you. So you got to stop and look at the perspective from which you're operating from, your financial perspective. What's interesting is so many of us, this was me included, because I had the wrong perspective for years. I'll tell you about myself in a minute. But here's the one thing that so many successful women say to me when I meet them and they know that God is ready for them to pivot into what's next. They 9 out of 10 of them, 9 out of 10, tell me something about having a lifestyle that they need to maintain. I got to keep my career because I got bills to pay. I got a mortgage. My kids are in college. I get all of that. And God does too. But when God has a purpose brewing inside you, it's bigger than your bank account. It's bigger than your kids going to college. I'm not saying that you should not have a mortgage because I have one too. I got a car note too. I've already been there, done that with the kids in college. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't do any of that. But you've got to look at your perspective. Okay. So I'm going to give you a bankroll zip code quiz. I want you to walk through this. Okay. And before I put this up here, let me read this because I didn't read it. Colossians 1:29 says this: To this end, I also labor, striving according to his working, which works in me mightily. Let me read it one more time. To this end, I also labor, striving according to his working, which works in me mightily. So when you're striving to live out the work that God put in you, that's your focus. Can I tell you, when you do that, money comes effortlessly? Can I tell you that wealth comes when you're doing the work God called and created you to do? You don't believe me? Go read any favorite person you might have in the Bible. Any person that was a great example of people that followed God, all were wealthy. Maybe I'll pull that list out and read it next episode. But listen, y'all, you got to move from hustle to hard work. So let's take this bankroll zip code quiz. Now I'm going to put it up. As we take this quiz, I want you to answer each false. It's either true or false. If you're not sure, then it'd be false, okay? And I need you, I'm not going to ask you what your answers are. This is for you, but I need you to have a real conversation with yourself, okay? So this is where your mindset lives around money. I call it bankroll zip code because this is the zip code your mind is living in, all right? So here we go. Number one, again, false. It's either true or false. True or false. So you can write T or F. Again, if you're not sure, go ahead and write false, okay? Number one, I feel anxious just thinking about my finances. I feel anxious just thinking about my finances. And I'm going to go through these fast. Number two, I will never reach my financial goals or get out of debt. If you feel like that, I'll never reach my financial goals or get out of debt. You know, the big goal you have that you think is impossible. True or false? Number three, I feel apprehensive about retirement, wondering if I will have enough money to maintain my lifestyle. You know, the house you want to live in, the vacations you want to take. Number four, I feel I'll never understand how to leverage my assets. True or false? And if you have no assets, go on and write true. If you don't know what I mean by assets, you should go ahead and write true. Number five, I am uncomfortable about my financial future. I'm uncomfortable about my financial future. Number six, I tend to procrastinate with financial decisions or actions. I tend to procrastinate, especially with large ones. Mhm. Number seven, I don't know how to grow my wealth and have not created a plan or hired someone to help me with it. I don't know how to grow my wealth. Or I don't know how to grow my money and have not created a plan or hired someone to help me with it. Number eight, I don't feel in control of my money. I don't feel in control. Again, I want you to have a real conversation with yourself about this. I'm going fast because I got a lot more to teach y'all. Okay. Number nine, I feel like I should be happy with what I make. Why should I want more? True or false? I feel like I should be happy with what I make. Why should I want more? You feel guilty for wanting more. You have this brewing inside of you that there's more for you to do and you feel guilty for that. That's number nine. And then finally, number 10, I am just not good with money. I'm just not good with money. So I want you to count up your falses. Count your number of false statements. And if you want to out yourself, you can write the number. Do you have 10 false? Do you have 9 false? Do you have 8 false? Do you have 5 false? Do you have 3 false? Right? So take a sip while I let you count for a second. All right, so here's what your score means. Okay. If you have mostly false statements, it means you're in a great bankroll zip code. If you have mostly false, good, Monica, you're in a great bankroll zip code, right? If you have mostly true statements, it's time to do the work to shift it. It's time to do the work to shift it, to shift how you look at money. Because listen, there's a statement that says energy goes where energy flows. So if your neighborhood has you looking at your money, this was me, I'm from South Central LA. My life should have been defined by jail, drugs, and drive-by shootings. There's no way that I should have a doctorate, that I should be the CEO of a multiple six-figure company. Mm-hmm. All right, Jasmine. There's no way that I should be doing this work that I'm doing, that I've worked with celebrities, heads of state. Listen, I've worked with Politicians. There's no way that my bankroll, my zip code, but listen, I had to do the work to shift even though I had moved out and I had gotten degrees and done all this stuff, I realized when my business was failing, those of you that heard the story for years of my business was failing, it's because my mindset hadn't moved anywhere. So for some of you, it could be the neighborhood you're from. It could be your family. Mine was both, by the way. If your family says things like money doesn't grow on trees and we got to rob Peter to pay Paul, and you live like that, yeah. Could be gender. So I really want you to take some time and really look at your bankroll zip code, because the way you look at money really will hinder God's ability to bless you. Because when God is asking you to do more and be more, it's going to cost you money. Listen, you will always have to invest at the level to which you want to see the return. And what I know for sure is at every level that I've chosen to grow myself, whether it's my business, whether it was my health, hello, health coach, whether it was trying to grow out my hair from the perm to the curl to get back to natural, all of those things cost money. I go on and on. My house, all those things cost money. And there's a saying that energy goes where energy grows, right? So wherever your money energy is exactly where your mindset is around your abundantly above all, okay? Because money is energy. That's number 2. So number 1 is, is reflect on your financial perspective. Number 2 is look at the energy you're giving around money, right? So listen, there's a Bible verse that says, where is it? Oh, I didn't have a Bible verse here. So I wonder if you even have a plan for your money. So when God, listen, there's a whole Genesis 1:28, which is my North Star. This is my mission that God gave me, even though it's a Bible verse, it's about Adam and Eve, that God created us to be fruitful and multiply, to have dominion. So if you're going to be fruitful and multiply, that costs money. So the more money I make in my business, the more people I can serve, the more staff I can hire, the more programs I can create. So wealth allows me to serve more. Because I am making a great amount of money, I was able to redo my childhood home. I originally did it for my mother, but when she decided she wanted to live there, my mother now lives up here with us, not in my house. She has her own place. I wasn't ready for that in Virginia. Right? But because I have been a good steward and I have focused on what God has created me to do, and I've not given money my energy, I give God all my energy. Now, do I have moments where I get scared? Of course I do. But then I go on back into my faith place and trust God, knowing that if He has put this calling on me, that He's going to see me to the other side if I just trust Him. Now, I've got to have good financial plans. I've got to have strategy around it. And some of you, the reason why you're having a hard time is either your zip code it needs to be shifted, or you don't have strategy. And I need you to determine which of those two are stopping you. I'm going to walk you through number 3. Before I walk you through number 3, which is going to give you the most meat here, those of you that need support with this, I want to invite you. If you haven't heard, last few weeks, I've been inviting you to join me on April 1st. I'm doing something called High Calling, High Tea. Now you know why I call it High Calling. God dropped this Bible verse in my spirit, Philippians 3:14. I press toward the mark, or some versions say I press toward the goal for the prize of the high calling. I'm going to give you tools to press toward the goal that God has placed you on this earth to focus on, to press toward, to fulfill. I'm going to give you tools and strategy. So I'm going to play this quick commercial and then I'll come back. I'll give you step 3. Hey, successful woman. Can I ask you a question? Is it time for your next level? Are you feeling stuck, complete, or ready? Now, when I say stuck, I'm talking about feeling stuck in a job that just no longer fits, that's just no longer big enough for your gift. Or maybe you feel complete with your current level of success and you desire more, but maybe you feel guilty for wanting more because you've gotten to the place in your career that you've always wanted and you're successful. Maybe you're just ready. You're ready for your next. You know it's time for you to transition into your next best career move or to start a business alongside your 9 to 5. So listen, if you're feeling stuck, complete, already, it simply means it's time for you to level up. And that's why I'm inviting you to join me for the High Calling High Tea. It's an afternoon of networking, of me giving you the step-by-step methodology you need to go after what's next for you. Plus, I'm gifting you with my Plan B playbook so that you can do the introspective work that will couple with the methodology I'm going to give you in the room. So listen, why should you be in the room? Why should you join? Can I keep it real? See, the biggest issue I see that gets in the way of successful women, I should say successful, powerful women like you, is you understanding that what got you here won't get you there. See, your bio, your resume is great, but that version of you is done. It's complete. And I'm excited to support you and who you have not yet become at the High Calling High Tea. Yes, I'm excited about having the opportunity to pour into you. And yes, I'm doing a workshop at this event. So we'll have networking. I'm going to have a purpose panel so you can see some women that have said yes to their high calling. But I'm also going to walk you through the three-step methodology you need. And why am I doing this? Because I need you to understand that to say yes, sometimes our flesh gets in the way. And it's that flesh that'll keep you at mediocre. It'll keep you settling for a good enough career or life. And God never expected you or me to live in good enough. Listen, I'm going after my abundantly above all. And I want to invite you into the journey with me because who wants to go after their abundantly above all alone? Plus, can I tell you that whole mindset I just talked to you about, your bankroll zip code? That's why I'm giving you the Plan B playbook to do the work you need to start to look at what could be in your way before you get in the room. So if you know, like you know, now's your time. I look forward to serving you live here in the DMV on April 1st. Grab your seat 2 to 6 p.m. that day. All you've got to do is go to High Calling High Tea and you'll learn more. All right. So with that, let me wrap up our conversation. Quick review. So again, the money shift. And it really is based on Philippians 3:14. I press toward the mark, or I press toward the goal for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Each of us have been called. All of us are not called to the pulpit. Some of us are called to a career that is meant to bring you meaning and fulfillment. And it is the answer to a group of people that need whatever your business, whatever product your business provides. There are people that need that. And you're part of that transformation. Those of you that have started or want to start your business or need to grow more revenue in your business, even let me say this, growing more revenue means you can serve more people as well as serving your family because you need to be able to eat. I remember years ago when I was having a hard time in my business, one of the things that got dropped in my spirit, which I say all the time, service and struggle should never coexist. Why would I give you a gift and want you to struggle to do it? Those of you that are successful and you can't figure out how, it's because you need strategy. Mhm. And part of that is mindset. And part of that is skill set. You need both. That's mindset is why I give you Plan B playbook, and skill set is what I'm going to walk you through in that room. But some of it is what the insight I'm giving you here. Okay. So if you're going to press toward the goal, you've got to have strategy to get there. So as we talked about the money shift, again, our foundational Bible verse, Deuteronomy 8:17-18, that says, you may say to yourself, try not to cough or sneeze rather. You may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth and so confirms His covenant, which He swore to your ancestors as it is today. So if God swore a covenant to you and all of our ancestors, or swore to our ancestors for us, what does God get back? Mhm. So number 3 here is you must pursue purpose over money, right? So listen, there's a quote that says either your money will serve God or you ask God to serve your money. And you never want to ask God to serve your money. You want to tell God what I need you to do, Lord. And I need to make this money over here, Lord. Wait a minute, stop. So you're going to limit God's ability to bless you? You think God is not going to give you the ability to amass wealth? That's not the kind of God I serve. And again, every great person in the Bible, think about them. Whether it's Abraham, Joseph and multicolored dream coat, Moses, Esther, my favorite girl, was a queen. They all had wealth. Now, he had Jesus come down and serve as a carpenter, his own son. So that I believe God, I believe Jesus, well, God is Jesus, right? I believe that God allowed Jesus to come down here as a carpenter to show us the need to work. That God uses our work to bring the kingdom here on earth, to make it real. Each of us have a part to play in that. And so when you pursue your purpose to bring the kingdom here, God's give back to you is wealth. So if we make purpose our focus instead of money our focus, when we work hard instead of hustle, when we say yes to our calling and we don't focus on all the things that the world says we should have. Listen, this is why Eve fell, because she was focused on the wrong things. Right? Now, I'm not saying you can't have nice things, because I like nice things. Look, I have a nice car. I got a nice, but that's not my focus. Matter of fact, can I tell you when this was a couple of years ago, when my lease was up. I had an Audi then. My lease was up. So I said, okay, I'm going to get a Mazda SUV because I had just moved to the snow. Cali girl moved to the snow. So I get to Mazda, and the man in the Mazda dealership goes like this: y'all need to go next door. And I'm thinking, this BMW next door. He said, because it's going to cost the same. And why would you get this car when you can get a BMW? And I'm thinking to myself, when do you ever go to a car dealer and the guy tells you go next door? So I go next door, but I start feeling guilty for wanting a BMW. I start feeling guilty. So the numbers are the same, y'all. The numbers are exactly the same. And I get home, and my husband says to me, if God wants to bless you, let him do it. When do you ever go to a car dealership and they tell you to go next door? When they work by commission. I'm only sharing that with you because I realized that God was trying to bless me. Like, I think I told this the first week, that joke where the man said, "Oh, God is going to come save me." And he prayed, "Lord, I need saving." He was wrecked on the ship, in the sea. And a helicopter came by, and he said, "Come on, let me help you." And the guy said, "No, no, no, go ahead. God is going to come save me." And an ocean liner came by, and they were trying to, pick him up and put him in the ocean liner. He said, "No, no, 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 no. God is going to come save me." And a third plane or something came by, and the man shoved the plane off and said, "Oh no, God is going to save me." So he dies, and he gets to go meet God, and God said, "What happened?" And the guy said, "Well, no, what happened to you?" And God said, "Well, I sent a helicopter, ocean liner, and a plane." So you got to understand, God wants to bless you. But if you want to stay in comfort and you won't go after your conviction, God can't bless that. If you want to sit in the same thing that you already know because you're not willing to push yourself and stretch yourself. Why is it that on the holidays we can wear our stretchy pants? Don't judge me. Some of y'all do it too. Don't judge me. We can wear our stretchy pants because we know we're going to eat, and we're going to eat too much. That our pants can stretch, but we can't. That we can buy new size in clothing because we've been eating too much. But God can move you up a whole zero on your payroll because you're willing to do the work to take your gift to the next level. So I really want to encourage you and challenge you to look at where your money mindset is, right? Jasmine says, such a great analogy, the money mind shift in effect, right? Because listen, if you serve a small God, listen, God can't get a big blessing through a small window. And if you're thinking about God like this and he wants to bless you like this, oh, God is going to let you live on whatever level you settle for. So if you're going to settle with God being small, oh, he'll be small. He won't ever bless you the way that he wants to bless you. But if you're willing to do the work to grow your faith, to grow your money mindset, to really look beyond what you can see, to do the work to go after what God has for you, I've seen God bless me in ways I could never even fathom. Things that I would have never thought from my little South Central LA neighborhood. My little 2.9 GPA, my first year of college, almost got kicked out. I probably didn't even have more than 2.9 when I was in high school because I was busy being social. Let me keep it all the way real. But I realized, okay, let me start taking things seriously in college. And I began to see how every time I put hard work in and my 3.5 and my what have you degree, wasn't about that. It wasn't about what the world would applaud me for. It was God rewarding me for how hard I worked. And every time I shifted and moved into what's next for me, from working in the entertainment industry to then going into an industry I'd never heard of, which we now call coaching, to then moving into working with teenage girls, to then working with successful women, to now working with corporations and governments and all kind of things that God has now pivoted me into. All of them, every new level has been scary. What would happen if you stop limiting God's ability to bless you and to use you? So that's part 4 of this series. Oh, I got so much more for you. So listen, do me a favor. If any of what I've shared today has given you any value, number one, share it below. You know me, I'm always going to ask you to share the one thing you got valuable out of our conversation. I want to remind those of you that know, like, you need the work, the support, to join me at the High Calling High Tea April 1st here in the DMV. And you don't have to live here to come. You can get in an airplane, a train, a automobile if you live close enough. Highcallinghightea.com is where you go. And so, if indeed this has been blessed you, in addition to you sharing the one thing you got, can I ask you to do me a favor and share it? Because there are other people in your tribe that follow you in various mediums that might need this insight. All right. So, with that, I'm back next week with part 5. Looking forward to pouring more into you. All right. Have a good rest of your Monday if I can get it out. Have a good rest of your Monday, y'all. I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.